Yo, 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 yo. Black at you one more time. Y'all already know it's your boy, man. Surrender. We coming back, man. We hitting y'all with something, man. I think I've discovered my greatest unearthings yet, and I wanted to share them with you guys. I'm so excited about this. I think that this is definitely something that can be helpful for all of us, man, as humans, not just about region or locale or skin color or genre, but more or less something that maybe could benefit humanity as far as understanding of where we are in life. You know what I mean? So stay tuned, man. We hitting you back upside the head. Yes, sir. So here's your boy, man. So I've always been kind of heavy, man, in in learning whatever. It doesn't really matter. And one thing that I've always taken into research is I try to overstand. I never read things trying to associate myself so deeply with something that I negate the premises of the writer's intentions for the story. I try to read it from a writer's standpoint and a reader's standpoint so that I understand that it's not necessarily talking to me. It may be talking about the writer. You know what I mean? And with doing that, you get a lot of clarification and a lot of understanding of what the writer's intention was, right? And I find that when you're doing that, you tend to try to overstand instead of try to find out what you need to know so that you can do what you want to do with this particular thing. I try to stay anonymous and just collect the information. And in doing that, uh, you can retain a lot of information and put a lot of things together. And I like to try to put things together. I like to do the overall thing. And so with my research in various topics, what I realized is that mankind has always been trying to find the reason for his own existence, period. All right. And we have written things throughout history to record uh, these findings. And so you're listening basically to yourself, tell yourself about yourself through history, right? And it's one of those kind of uh, moments to where, in hindsight, it's almost like you have been here before, and you're coaching yourself on how to be here. When we're reading and we're writing and we're looking at other people's analogies of what we should be doing and why we should be doing them and what is this and that, and science has pretty much written history, and they are human. So how could you really believe that they would know? How would they be for sure knowing if we're all here? Not really sure. So for me, I never really took hold to everything so personally. I kind of waited until I was able to accumulate the desire of mankind, right? What when we write about religious articles or when we write about these findings, what are we really trying to do? uh, the person who's writing these things have not claimed that they have found anything, but that they are looking, they're searching. And so I realized that over and throughout history, that each person who is witnessing about a particular topic is a person searching for truth in that thing themselves. And so then the number one thing is to continue to search and not gravitate or grab hold on to what they saying, but more or less what they're doing. They're searching. So just continue to search for truth. See what I'm saying? And so that's what I've overstood. And I've gotten to this point now where I really do like uh, uh, astrology. I really do like astrology. I believe that adding that, not necessarily that being the holy grail, but adding that in to one's cerebral, to one's understanding, and adding that into the spiritual understanding of life and the natural things that occur um, could be very beneficial to us as humans. One thing that I've researched and understood that all of us as humans are pretty much time based. All of us go by some type of calendar, which is some type of measurement of time. whether that be yearly, whether that be monthly, whether that just be by the time clock that's on your wall. We all are moving through life in the measurement of time. And with that being said, then we can utilize our ability to measure time to then put ourselves in a time capsule and be able to then project or predict what may happen in our lives and where we are in our lives, right? And so this is why this video is called The Seasons of Life. I felt as though if we could make a chart with our life expectancy on it, right? So let's say like right now, if you research, life expectancy across the world, not that you can't just do the United States of America, you have to do the world, right? You got to do all of humanity and everybody who could put their numbers into this particular database, then because it's not everybody, but all those who could put their numbers in the database, you kind of go from what you have. And so what we have is Monaco, right? The country of Monaco is the top ranked life expectancy country, and I think is at about 89.5 or 6. So basically 90 years old, and Monaco is a very high life expectancy. And then you have the lowest life expectancy on that particular database, which is South Africa at about 50.6. So it's about 51 years old, right? And I just take the highest number and the lowest number and factor them in. Otherwise, you'll be doing 300 different numbers. So take the highest of 90 and the lowest of 51, add them up, you get 141. Then you divide them by the two that they are, right? You divide them by two, and then you come up with 70.5, right? So life expectancy for humans in the world, based on the highest country in the world to the lowest country in the world, they average both out to make life expectancy for humans to be about 71 years old. Okay? 71 years old. Now remember that's just life expectancy, 71 years old. So then what are seasons? Seasons as we know it have been quantified into quarters. The year as we know it has been broken up into 4 quarters. And the first part of the year, we consider that the first quarter of the year, we consider that to be spring. The second quarter of the year, we consider that to be summer. And the third quarter is fall. The fourth quarter is winter. Okay. And those quarters or those 4 quadrants are broken up and can be broken up in a chart. And um, we can always utilize those seasons, right? So now you have spring, first quarter, summer, second quarter, fall, third quarter, winter, fourth quarter, right? And these can be quantified as yearly season things that happen throughout the year, right? Happen throughout the year. Now, remember that moving forward, that those are your seasons. Also, we have a time clock, right? Time clock that's on your wall. We're talking about a time clock that's on your wall. Now, a time clock that's on your wall, we all know that at the top of that time clock is 12 o'clock, right? At the bottom of it is 6 o'clock, right? And this, that, and the third. Okay. So we don't necessarily want to necessarily go, well, we don't necessarily want to just picture the time clock in our brain, but we do want to understand how the time clock operates, which is clockwise, right? It goes clockwise, not counterclockwise, but clockwise, right? Okay. So now, if you don't understand zodiac, now let's talk about zodiacs. So the zodiac chart, most zodiac charts that you always see are most correct zodiac charts. And if you guys don't like zodiacs, hey, look, I apologize. I'm not, we're not promoting anything here, this, that, and the third, whatever religious you're in, this, that, and the third. I keep going, but please lend your ear, okay? Because I'm not advocating anything, but I think that this is beneficial because, like I said, the first association should be humans, where we're humans first, okay? So getting back on the regular schedule program. So when we're talking about time, and I want us to understand it from a zodiac standpoint. So the zodiac standpoint, it is always starts in Aries, right? And it goes from Aries to Taurus to Gemini to Cancer to Leo to Virgo to Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, back to Aries. Okay. So with that being said, Aries is always first. Now, when you're looking at a zodiac chart, which I have right here, and let me know if y'all can see this or not, but this is my little handmade chart that hopefully I can take y'all through. All right. So, with that being said, so Aries would be right over in this area right here, right? So, you got the east, the west, the north, and the south, right? Y'all see that? East, west, north, south. The sun rises in the east. Okay? So it starts in Aries. The sun starts in Aries. Well, these lines right here mean time. Going back to the time clock. This line here is 6 a.m. in the morning. That's 6 a.m. The sun rises at 6 a.m., right? This is 12 noon. 12 p.m. noon is the top, north. In the west, the sun sets at 6 p.m., right? And then this is the south. This is when the sun is in the south. This is 12 a.m. Excuse me. This is 12 a.m., right? So if you look at that, you got 6 a.m., 12 p.m., 6 p.m., and 12 a.m. Okay? Y'all get that right now. So even if you can't read this, just listen and look at the picture. Okay. So the sun starts in the east. So it starts in Aries. So each triangle is a zodiac sign. So this is Aries, that's Taurus, that's Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. Okay. I'll tell you what the blue mean in a minute. The blue is the closer we get to these 4 points, which are the cardinal signs, right? So this is Aries, that is Cancer, that's Libra, and that's Capricorn. Very, very integral signs. They're called cardinal signs. And normally when things happen close to these signs, it's very, very impactful to our lives. So that blue is constituting when you're getting close to that line and when you're leaving out, but you're still close to that line. So it constitutes a 6 year span, and we'll get to that later, but it constitutes a 6 year span of where you're transitioning across those lines. And that normally means major transitional things happening in our lives, good or bad. They're going to be major to us, major to our growth, major to our experiences, major to our life, impactful. Okay. Very impactful. So follow me here. That's what the blue means. 6 year span, getting close to these points right here, meaning something impactful is going to happen in this time frame. Okay. Now, with that being said, so you got 6 a.m. So now it takes 2 hours for the sun to go through each zodiac sign. So when the sun rises here, by 8 o'clock is in Taurus. Okay. By 10 o'clock is in Gemini. By 12 o'clock is entered into Cancer. By 2 o'clock is in the Leo. By 4 is in the Virgo. By 6 is in the Libra. You see, so on and so on. Okay. So this is how the sun rotates. That's how the sun rotates. So every 2 hours, the sun is in each sign. So then in retrospect, uh, what we're seeing here is how the sun orbits on an everyday basis. We're using that time. We're using that time. I want y'all to understand that we're using the time. The sun sets and we're putting the zodiac right here, the first one right here. This is how we're doing this life expectancy chart. Okay. Now, We just said that our life expectancy is 71 years. So now we have to put 71 in this chart. We have to put the life expectancy 71. Now, some of y'all older than 71, but I'll show you exactly how to work it, whether you're older, younger. This is just an expectancy, okay? So when you put 71 into this chart, you have to divide it by 4. You have 4 areas, right? Spring, summer, fall, and winter. You see that? 4 seasons, right? And not only do you have 4 seasons a year, if this is 6 a.m. to noon right here, you're also having seasons throughout your day. You're also into seasons throughout your day. Not just in the whole year, you are going through seasons every day you wake up. You wake up in the spring. When you get past lunchtime, you're into summer of the day. When you get past 6 p.m., you're into the fall of the day. Of the day, not just the year, of your day. Okay? So now you're understanding how you can position yourself throughout the day, throughout your life. Now you're understanding where people are that may not, understand this. Now you can understand them and where they are and how they need to get through their days, their years, their months and time here. Okay. So keep in mind what we're saying here. Okay. So you put 71 into here. So you divide 71 by 4, and you're probably going to come up with I think I did this before. You're gonna come up with probably about 17.5 years, or let's just say 18 years. Okay, 18 years. So what that means to me is that we have a life expectancy of 71. That means each season we're going to spend approximately 18 years in each season to come up to be about 72. It's going to be 72. Okay. So what that means is that in the first 18 years of my life, I'm into the spring. I'm just planting, right? I should not be expecting any harvest, any reaping, but I should be doing a lot of sowing. This is the greatest time for experimentation with things, learning different things, and going to different places, because this will cultivate the rest of your life. So for the first 18 years, we are in the spring of our lives. And in the spring of our lives, we should be planting, okay? In the second, so all of you that are 0 to 18 years old, you are in the spring of your life. Experience life. Sow your seeds. All right. Do all the things that do them. Okay. All right. Now, when you get over here, you're from 18 to 36. All right. When you add the other 18 there, right? So from 18 to 30, so from 19 to 36, you're in the summer of life. The summer of life. Now, when you look at this as a flower, I want you guys to picture a seed in the ground. So you just been planting seeds in the spring. Any planter will tell you not to expect anything in the spring because you just planted. But then you begin to start seeing the remnants of your seeds will start coming up atop of the soil, primarily during the summertime. It doesn't mean that they are ready to be picked. What it means is that you're now beginning to identify your plants. This is the time of identification. This is when you begin to uh, uh, narrow down who you are, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, who you're going to be in life. This is that time. This is when your career begins to take off. You begin to professionalize everything. You begin to home in on who you are, what you want to do, and what you want to put out in the atmosphere. But this, again, is not a time of reaping. This is more or less a time of maturing, maturation process. All right, in the summertime, the maturation process. Now, when you pass 36 and you get off into 37, which is the transitionary period, right? Now you're into the fall of life. So from 37 and add 18 to that will make you about what? 55, right? So from 37 to 55, you're in the fall of life. The fall of life is when things productive wise begin to decline, right? That's when the productivity of an individual begin to decline. They can no longer continue to uh, uh, look at life from a standpoint of sowing or maturing, but now they have gotten into the reaping, right? They've gotten into the reaping because right here in this transitionary period in Libra is where you reap what you sow. This is the harvest month. This is when you reap what you sow, right? And normally in this time, I'll break this down a little bit more, but because this is 18 years and there's three triangles in each, which means each represents 6 years, right? So in this transitionary period, this is when you're 37 to about 42, 43. You need to start reaping what you sown. All right, you're harvesting. All right. And then this is from about 42 to about 48. 48 to 44, 48 to 54, 55. You see how that goes? So each one represents six. So that's how you know that this is a transitionary period of 6 years because it's half. So 3 years here, 3 years here before you get out of that window of transition, right? So when a person comes here and they're 55, they're in a transition period. So they may have entered this transition period at 53, right? And they won't get out of it until 58. What does this mean is something major is going to happen in that time, good or bad, right? Transitionary period here for people who are 55 and 60 years old here, this is basically at Capricorn. If you know anything about Capricorn, this is restructuring time, right? This is when you're restructuring everything and you're kind of getting prepared for the winter when there will be no production, retirement, right? This is retirement, okay? This is retirement right here. This is inheritances. This is when you're starting to reap what you sow here, that transitionary period. This is also, too, what they call the midlife crisis, right? Because this is between, right here, that's about 35 to about 41, right? That you have to, make sure you're going through that transition period, right? Or with your spouses, with your home life, right? Getting everything together with your home life, with your spouses, right? This is that time, all right? By the time you get out of that, you'll be about 41. Uh, and then you start going into this area, Scorpio. Scorpio is when the reproduction, right? Productivity starts to decline in the fall season. Oh, I'm sorry, in the fall season over here. I'm already telling y'all wrong, but in the fall season here, looking at this thing backwards. In the fall season. So understand that this is the fall here. This was the fall here. I know I was showing y'all backwards. So this is the fall. And this is your transitionary period or midlife crisis period. This is where home life and spouse and marriage and all this. So from 35 to 41, all of you guys that are 35 to 41, you're probably in this transitionary period and you're probably having some major things going on right now in your life from about the age of 35 to 41. Okay. And it's going to be evolving around home life and it's going to be evolving around spousal stuff and relational stuff. Okay. All right. But also, too, when you're getting into your 40s, that's also a time to start reaping what you've sown. Okay. There's also a time to start reaping what you've sown. Okay. Here is winter. This is restructuring. This is when person is looking at retiring and having to restructure life, getting ready and prepared for winter, the winter months here. Okay. This is the winter. All right. Understood. This transitionary period is when you're about 15 to 21. If you're 15 to 21 years old, you start going through this little transitionary period here. And most of that transitionary period there is all about getting yourself situated with what you want to do in life and how you want to attack life. Okay. And that's normally between 15 and 21. It got a lot to do with school and, um, college and if you're going to have kids and stuff early, that'll have some impact within that time period. But mostly is mostly your experiments with education and just life period, right? And then that'll catapult you on into uh, uh, the area here, the summer area. Okay, that'll catapult you on into the summer area. So those are some of the things we got to look at. So if you are 38 years old, if you're 39 years old, you are in the transitionary period in your life. If you are 21 years old, you're in a transitionary period in your life. If you are 55 years old or 53 to 60, you're in a transitionary period in your life or restructuring, right? If you're 35 years old, you're in the uh, spring of life. You're in the spring of life. I mean, you're in the summer of life. I'm sorry. If you're 35 years old, you're in the summer of life. 35 years old, you are in the summer of life. If you're 45 years old, you're in the fall of life. And you're in Scorpio, meaning that you're having some decline in your reproductive. If you're 35, you're in the summer of life in Virgo. The summer of life in Virgo, meaning that you're at the most capacity you're going to make as far as money is concerned. The most bread you're going to make is where you at. If you're 35, wherever you are, however much money you're making, that's probably the most you're going to make, and you need to cash out when you start to get into your harvest, which is in your time frame, right? So 35 to 41, you're making the most money and you need to cash out on what you're doing and what you know. And this is not saying that you retire here, but this is saying you start preparing. When you're harvesting, you start preparing for the winter. Okay? Anybody harvesting, you start preparing for the winter months. When you're harvesting, you're preparing for the drought. So it's not necessarily about retiring, but it's about getting your finances in order, and it's about getting everything in line, preparing you for the elder part of life. And most people will start the restructuring right in here, right at 53 to 61. There's going to be some major transitioning, major restructuring, maybe moving, maybe downsizing. Whatever you're doing, it'll start here. I hope y'all get this, man. I really do hope y'all get this. There's other components to this. I don't really want to go too deep, but there's other components to this too. So we're understanding that the moon, right? It takes the moon. The moon operates every 30 days within each triangle. So within each triangle, it takes the moon 30 days to get out of Aries. It takes the sun 2 hours. You get that? It takes the moon 30 days to get out of Aries. It takes the sun 2 hours. So now we're looking at, first we were looking at sun times of the life expectancy. Now you're looking at moon times. A little different. Moon time to me, honestly, mean God time. Um, it's a whole lot different. So now what you have to do is, um, it takes the sun 2 hours to get to another sign. It takes the moon 30 days to get to another sign. So now, how does 2 hours go into 30 days? That's basically 4 minutes per day. So in actuality, in moon time, one day is 4 minutes. In moon time, one day is 4 minutes. So in a 30-day cycle, that would have been 120 minutes, which is 2 hours. So for when the moon do one orbit around the earth, right? Well, it do 12 orbits around the earth. So when it does 12 orbits around the earth in 1 year, you basically live one day. 1 year is equivalent to one day in moon time. So if you're 38 years old, you would have been actually 38 days old. And if that's the case, none of us ever make it out of the spring of life, for the most part. But this is very, very helpful, man. Very helpful. But I want you guys to just continue to look at that, because that just came out of my mind. But that's the wheel in the middle of the wheel, right? That's Ezekiel's wheel. And this is our life expectancy. And you see the blue, it looks like the cross. Now, mind you, this came out of my mind. The blue look like the cross, but this is also the symbol for sound. This is what the early people saw, and we call it crop signs and all of that, but they saw it as sound. They said that when you make the sound of om, like the yogis and all these people do, that it looks like that. That's the symbol. Okay. This is a life expectancy chart, meaning that when you have a number to expect, like we said, 71, then you can place yourself in one of these quadrants based on time. And since we all go by time, I said, okay, we live to 71. We broke that down by 4, and we came up that would be 18 years. It's actually 17.5, but so we round up and said 18 years. So each person spends 18 years in each quadrant for their life expectancy. So for my first 18 years of life, I'm in spring. And for my second 18 years of life, I'm into summer. And each time I cross over major barriers, that means major transitions in my life, whether good or bad. And if I'm taking that from that expectancy, then now I can quantify and position where I am in life. So if I am uh, 0 to 18, I'm in the spring of life. If I'm 21 to 30 years old, I'm in the summer of life. And I can even break it down and get more specific to you by just letting you know exactly where you're at. You know what I mean? Like right here, I can tell you what that time would be and this, that, and the third, so you'll understand exactly where you're at in life. If you're in Leo, if you're in Virgo, what those things mean. If you're 30, if you're 32 in Leo, which you can't be 32 in Leo, you can be 32 in Virgo. But I'm saying, so let's say if you're 28 in Leo, well, that's the prime of your life. Leo is the lion. So Leo, it means the prime of life. You're in the prime of your life if you're in Leo. When does Leo age start? So this is let's say 6 years old, so that's 25. So from 25 to 31, you in Leo, prime time of life. From 25 to 31 years old, you in the prime of your life. You're in Leo, the strongest you can be. Strongest you can be. Leadership mode, right? Leadership mode. And that pays off because you being that strong in Leo pays off with what you will have in Virgo. And Virgo is mostly like the she's the female, but she's considered like the breadbasket, right? Bread, you know what I mean? Uh, uh, um, you know what you would be able to capacity hold with hold is also medically is deemed as the abdomen, right? Your stomach, and that to us is how much we can hold. That's our bag, so to speak, and you can fill that bag with as much as you need to. Uh, and then you get your harvest in Libra. See, your harvest comes in Libra. Libra is also balancing the scales, right? So think about cashing out. You're balancing your scales. You're now trying to cash out products or services, and saying, hey, okay, now I'm clocking out. Time to go. Which is why 6 p.m. is the sunset. Time to go. Sunset. Balancing out. Right? And this is why most of the time, too, the economy normally retracts itself in Libra scales, balance out, clock out. Scorpio is normally dealing with, like I said, reproductive, the production. All right, you start to decline around this time, and so this time is when you're getting into Scorpio. This time starts at about, so this is 36. So you're talking about 40. Uh, so let's say Scorpio starts at about 43. When you get to about 43, 44 years old, you start going into Scorpio, which is a decline in your reproductive. Okay. About 43 years old, based on a 71-year life expectancy. About 43 years old, you start to decline in your reproductive area. All right. And then the Sagittarius comes in at about 50. Sagittarius means also to structure, your hips, your thighs, is all a part of structure and stamina and strength. And so there begins to be a decline there in structure. Capricorn is also structure, bone structure, but also too meaning foundation, government, just kind of like your house, um, all your fundamental stuff that all your belief systems and everything like that. You'll have to kind of, not necessarily saying you got to restructure your belief systems, but it's more or less like foundational things that you probably ever had throughout the course of this time here that you may have to start making decisions on here. And this is the restructuring process. And that's why, it's stipulated right here on this line here, restructuring the foundation. Restructuring the foundation is here. All right. Getting your mind right is here. Restructuring your mind. That's why education is key from 15 to 21. This is the restructuring of the mind. Okay. Okay. This is more dealing with your finances here. Virgo and Libra. Okay. And so you're gonna more be dealing with financial things more between the ages of 35 to 41. Okay. The life expectancy chart. Knowing your positions in life, knowing your positions throughout the day, adding this to your regimen, allowing yourself to understand this. You can diagnose yourself medically with this. Okay, you can take care of yourself. This is what this is all about, and this is what I'm all about, man. Until next time, I love y'all. If you got any questions or concerns, if you guys just want to, participate in this, I'm gonna make a bigger thing. I'll make a bigger presentation if it need be, and then we can help each other out with this and to show you exactly what seasons you're in, and show you what to expect health wise, what to expect in your finances, relationships, the whole nine, man. This is your boy. Till next time, peace. I love y'all. Oh, na, na.